Good morning, Uday. Today is Tuesday, December 5th, and here's the heads up brief for today. Today's production to our clients consisted of a total of 73 issues. We covered 45 issues in East Asia Pacific, 17 issues in South Asia, and 11 issues in the EMEA region. I will be briefing you on the major issues of today's production.
Thanks, Bassel. Please go ahead.
In East Asia Pacific, I'll be covering the top two of the 45 issues. In Myanmar, tensions have continued to rise in the country due to the ongoing conflict between the military and various ethnic armed organizations and resistance groups. General Min Aung Hlaing urged ethnic armed groups in the country to resolve their issues through political means, according to state media today. He warned that continued armed actions would negatively impact residents in the affected region. The military issued a plea to all deserters of the army to return back to their barracks, assuring that those who comply will be pardoned for any minor offenses. We covered this as a major development in the Southeast Asia roundup today.
Great. So this statement and the military's actions show an increasing sign of desperation and the turning of the tide in the Myanmar's Spring Revolution. So let's keep a very close track on developments. Thanks, Basil.
Sure. In China, property developer Evergrande has been granted an extension until late January to restructure its debts and avoid liquidation amid the country's ongoing property crisis. Facing debts of over $300 billion, Evergrande has experienced a series of crises, including a default and an offshore debt in 2021. The Hong Kong court adjourned the case until January 29th, with the judge urging Evergrande to engage in direct discussions with relevant authorities, potentially involving China's government in deciding the company's fate.
Thanks, Basil. I'm pretty sure the Chinese government will be involved in deciding the company's fate, but this is of concern because this does point to some of the financial and economic issues in China at the moment, which could escalate over the coming months and affect not only Southeast Asia, but the rest of the world too. So let's keep following this. Thanks.
Yep, sure. In South Asia, I'll be covering the top two of the 17 issues. In India, the India Meteorological Department has issued cyclone warnings in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and Puducherry today. According to the meteorological body, Cyclone Michang is expected to make landfall along the southeastern coast around 11:30 a.m. local time today. Wind speeds are expected to clock 90 to 100 kilometers per hour when the cyclone passes through the region. Several flights were diverted and operations were temporarily suspended at airports in Chennai, Visakhapatnam, and Hyderabad yesterday. We released an APAC advisory on this today.
Thanks for keeping clients informed on this, especially the disruptions. Visakhapatnam is a big port, and Chennai and Hyderabad are major trade centers. So let's keep an eye on for disruptions. Thanks, Basil.
Sure. In Bangladesh, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party has announced a fresh round of nationwide blockade starting from 6 a.m. local time tomorrow. The BNP has been holding a series of blockades since October 28th, demanding the resignation of the Awami League-led government and for elections to be held under a neutral government. Recent blockades have led to incidents of arson, vandalism, and violence, resulting in police detaining party activists and leaders. The BNP has also announced programs in Dhaka on December 10th, coinciding with demonstrations planned by the Awami League to mark Human Rights Day. Both parties are yet to receive permission to conduct the demonstrations. We covered this as the major development in the South Asia roundup today.
Thanks, Basil. The Awami League is likely to get permission. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party is not. We're likely to see violence during the BNP blockades. And more political violence in the run-up to the January elections. Thanks.
Sure. Moving over to the EMEA region, I'll be covering the top three of the 11 issues. In Ukraine, concerning Ukraine and the US, the White House warned yesterday that the US is running out of time and money to help Ukraine fight against Russia. This comes after the White House warned that funds under the Ukraine aid program have almost run out. US President Joe Biden's administration has asked Congress for nearly $106 billion in funding for Ukraine back in October. However, Republicans who control the House with a slim majority rejected the package. We conveyed this to our clients via an advisory message today.
Right, so it's interesting that Ukraine is losing or not getting as much support from its major benefactor, the US. They've also diverted weapons from them, if I'm right, Bassel, towards the Middle East.
Yes,
So
that's true. They've diverted funds and weapons from Ukraine to Israel to aid Israel with its ongoing offensive against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. So I think we are seeing the continuation of the military stalemate in Ukraine. So because of the loss of support from the US or
yeah,
the reduction. However, if we see that the US is not supplying enough ATACMS missiles or HIMARS missiles, then Russia will have again almost full aerial superiority across Ukraine.
right. So this puts Russia at an advantage. So let's keep a close eye on this and update our plans. Thanks.
Yes, we're monitoring this closely. In the United Kingdom, the National Audit Office announced that the British Armed Forces faced an equipment funding shortfall of $21.6 billion over the next 10 years. The estimate for the budget for new weapons and equipment is at $385 billion between 2023 and 2033. The NAO said that soaring costs in nuclear and naval programs, as well as high inflation, have pushed up the future budget. This has resulted in a marked deterioration in the Ministry of Defense financial position.
Thanks, Bassel. This is something that the UK will have to navigate through as more conflicts or the potential for conflict increases across the world and especially in Europe.
Yes, that's true. Also, lastly, concerning the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, around 15,900 Palestinians and 1,200 Israelis have so far died during the war. Approximately 42,000 Palestinians and 3,500 Israelis have been injured. Israel's National Security Minister Ben Gvir yesterday said over 260,000 new requests for firearm permits have been submitted to the ministry since October 7th. Israel's opposition leader, Yair Lapid, yesterday called for the resignation of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin has said Israel could face a strategic defeat if it fails to protect civilians in Gaza. We also conveyed this to our clients via an advisory message today.
The statement from the U.S. Secretary of Defense is interesting. It doesn't necessarily show a shift in U.S. support for Israel, but it does show that there has been consistent and rising global pressure against support for Israel's operations in Gaza, which have now gone to South Gaza, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all for today, Uday. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Bassel.